This is Ghana in West Africa. Ghana has highly indebted poor country status, or HIPC. HIPC is a World Bank programme that allows qualifying countries to have their debts cancelled. The G8 rubber stamped debt cancellation at Gleneagles in 2005. But what has this really meant for Ghana?
HIPC is a declaration of bankruptcy. After almost 20 years of accepting bank and fund terms, the country is bankrupt.
Can you say a bit more about what you mean by that? Because obviously a lot of people in Britain, probably in the West in general, they think the whole debt relief thing was a product of this great mobilisation, put pressure on the leaders and they came out with something new, but they don't see the conditionality. Most of people see is that this is a terribly benevolent thing that's been done that is going to have a hugely transformative effect.
HIPC basically is handing over to the creditor to have even tighter terms. An official of the IMF told me that what he as an African doesn't know about HIPC is that it allows even greater policy intrusion in the economies of the accepting countries. So if you look at that and what Gleneagles said, that those who accept HIPC-like conditions are those who qualify for debt relief. And we are talking about an intensification of the very conditions that led to the indebtedness in the first place. But not simply the question of even the financial debt, but also the loss of economic sovereignty. This kind of new colonialism.
What has the G8 done? The G8 has said that they are going to wipe off 100% of our debt. Now, what are they saying in real terms? What they're telling us is that you owe us so much. We are not going to take the money from you. You generate the money yourself through taxation, through your productive activity and so on. Don't pay it to us, keep it. But we are going to tell you how to invest that kind of money. It's incredible. Nobody would accept that anywhere in the world. I do not think that there's any country in the West which would accept that another country or another institution in a foreign land should be determining its priority and how it spends its money and so on. I think that's arrogance, really arrogant.
You look at the whole thing and you have to say, come on, this is not real. It was good for Blair, but then the unraveling of the whole debt promise is there are a lot of words in the text, but if you actually look at the declaration for what it actually offers, it's very thin. And even what is substantial is very worrying. Everything rotates around, what donors want and so on.
Certainly the idea of poor countries paying interest to rich countries and rich banks endlessly is obscene, has always been. At the Gleneagles Summit, there was much made of aid and debt. But what it did was to take attention from other, in my view, more important long-lasting demands. Because the debt relief and the aid grants can only help to take us back to zero. They are not developmentally oriented.
Yeah, we are not getting to one of the houses of the people. They use the thatch to roof the building, and then they use the mud to make the main building. And this has been a problem to the community members. Every year it means that they have to roof this very building, which is very, very sad. And if people are sleeping in the very big houses like you see some in Accra, that means that this civic function want to develop the people to get a very nice houses for themselves. But that is not the case. So look at some of the building that people sleep in, and it's very, very terrible. Yearly they have to get the thatch for it, and then the wood.
Is this sort of concrete, this plaster, this is just paint, is it?
It's a mortar.
This mortar?
Within a year, you have to be continuing doing something about it.
It can collapse.
When it rains, it collapses, and sometimes I'll be killing the people those dwelling with it.
Really?
Yes.
Collapse on people?
Yes.
Yes.
About 4 years ago, incidentally, one got broken and killed a child in this community.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the chief's son.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What, the roof collapsed?
Yeah.
That's awful. Was that in the heavy rains?
Yes.
Yes.
And in this place, they have the heavy rains, So we need really a change.
And what is it people really want?
What the people want is the concrete buildings, the proper, blocks with a good, roofing. It can be zinc or it can be slate.
Is it possible to see in one of these houses so that we can see them?
Let's see. You can come in. This is the way the building is.
Debt relief fund new homes and buildings?
You don't get anything serious like getting cement to actually redevelop their own programs of that nature. There's nothing like that. Yes, there's nothing like that.
Is this a storage one or is this one people actually live in?
Yeah, that's the people who are living in it.
About 10 people.
Yes.
About 10 people
Yes.
living here?
Yes. I think as I said, the people need industries for the community. They need concrete houses. They need a good infrastructure that are per se. It can house 2 or 3, bedroom for one person, and it's actually a wife or a child.
The HIPC Debt Relief Initiative provides no new money, yet it prescribes how Ghana must spend the money it would have paid its debts with.
There's certain pretension, and that pretension runs throughout, that other people know our problems better than we do, and I find that really repugnant, really extremely repugnant.
It's very smoky in there.
She's coming to show us one of the details, what actually she's doing.
So in here,
Yes.
this is where she prepares things in here, or
Yes.
what happens?
This where she sleeps.
This is where she sleeps.
And she sleeps.
And Abby sleeps in here. You sleep in here?
Yes.
This is where you sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So because our property, so we can add fried fish to it. But this is the type of pancake.
So this is a kenkey. Okay. But they can't afford the fried fish to go with it.
Yes, fried fish. So people, other persons also made the fried fish.
And how much money can she raise in one day, maybe?
So you can buy more bags of the maize. Even when you buy the maize, because the way it is, you can't make any profit. So they are trying to live.
So this is subsistence
Yes,
living?
yes, to living.
She's
Nothing
not
making,
it's not making
nothing,
a profit?
nothing
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
Okay. We've seen and we'll probably see more of these kind of HIPC rainbows on schools and toilets and things like that. This sort of rainbow with a HIPC benefit. I wonder what you make of that, or what Ghanaians must make of that.
Well, I can understand why this is happening because the debate on HIPC and the discomfort the government continues to feel about it. They are marketing it. Okay? Because for a lot of ordinary people, the whole thing about the connection between the terms of debt relief and some of the things which are now happening in their lives are remote and even non-existent. But the outcome which they see, which is a toilet, a school emblazoned with HIPC fund, gives the impression that we're getting something for the pain, okay? But a lot of the pain, of course, it's invisible in the sense that if you cannot develop agriculture, then even your capacity to create jobs, which generates incomes, is lost.
This is a toilet for Bisiasi, the HIPC benefits. We have 2 of these. We're given for 27,000 people. Yeah.
2 blocks of toilets?
Yes.
Hello? Anyone in here? There's no one in here.
There's no one.
This is the assembly.
Oh, okay. I see. But this is a waterless toilet, blah, blah, blah. Close the toilet lid, lift the lever. Do not pour water in the toilet, do not use chemicals, do not put plastic bags. There's an Enviro loo cleaner. Then you clean the toilet with a damp toilet brush. Hello.
I'm actually a caretaker here with my husband, and I keep the place tidy. Every morning, every day, I keep the place tidy.
Has she been given any of the Enviro cleaner and the toilet brushes to clean the toilets? Has she been given the materials?
See how the place. I see, I just put some ashes there, and I use my broom to just clear the place. There's nothing like antibacterial or
and she stays here all day to look after the place.
From morning till evening.
And does the government pay her to be here? Does HIPC pay her to be here?
Nobody pays me.
The impression which is created is simply that we were unable to do things for ourselves until somebody came up with a bright idea of HIPC. I think it's insulting. It's insulting. What we are being told by those labels and so on is simply that before HIPC we could not produce toilets. We couldn't build toilets for our people. We couldn't give our people potable water. That is false. It is not true. You understand? What is happening is a propagandist effort to show that HIPC has some benefits. That's all that is happening.
Thank you, Tony Blair. Thank you, Bob Geldof. Thank you, Bono, and thank you, Life 8 and G8, for providing a development for us. A development of HIPC, development of dustbin, which we have not seen and we cannot provide for ourselves. Through your initiative of development, we now have dustbin, HIPC dustbin. Then we can put our rough and sewage and so on inside. We thank you. We appreciate your development for us so much. Thank you, Tony Blair.
We were building schools before HIPC. We were building public toilets for our people before HIPC. And we were providing rubbish dumps and so on for our people. All of a sudden, everything we do has a HIPC label on it. I think the psychological impact of this is huge. We are telling our people that there are benefits to be derived from being highly indebted and poor.
To qualify for HIPC debt relief, Ghana had to draft a poverty reduction strategy to suit its creditors. The creditors insisted on small-scale local schemes with water, sanitation, health and education as priorities, not agriculture, industry, major infrastructure or society-wide development.
If you dictate the pace of development for an individual or a country, you'll be missing the point, because I know what goes inside me. I should have that independent mind to prioritize my things, come to you and say, "Guy, I need help. Can you help me?" If you can, you say, "Okay, I can help you." If you can't, just leave me. But to say, "Okay, I will help you," but then you have to fulfill A, B, C, D, and D, it ceases to become more or less like a help or aid. Then it becomes an idea of enforcement and surveillance, because then you are going to monitor me to see whether I'm actually doing what you want.
Conditions are being set. The government is told which areas those resources can be spent, which for us place so much limitation, or even kind of directs the development agenda of the nation, which might not necessarily be the direction for the development of Ghana. The international financial institutions had so much influence in whatever was finally accepted as the development agenda for the country. Ghana did not have to spend in the area of agriculture, but rather in health, education, water and sanitation. But we see agriculture as the mainstay of the economy of Ghana. So that if there's a condition which does not allow the government to invest so much resources into the production base of the economy, then we have a problem.
Okay, so are we getting this? This is Chicago Stars.
Oh, American rice.
Absolutely. I mean, we produce rice in Ghana, but you see, it's none here. It doesn't even find space in the local supermarket, let alone getting exported. You know why? We don't have what it takes to make it better. Machinery, the expertise, the finances, have not got the infrastructure for industries. We don't have the money. The foreign direct investment is nil. Recently, it trickles in like, a drop of rain. That is what we need. So what we need is really to add value to the commodities, the products that we have, to be able to export. And then we have fair trade. Until that, nobody should talk about trade because we have nothing to trade. That is the issue, really. But anyway, we need Chicago rice because Afife rice is absent here.
The fact that for the next 20 years, even though Ghana will enjoy debt relief, the fact that Ghana will not have the free will to invest the resources generated into sectors that the country deems very important for the growth of the economy. I find that worrying. That is really worrying. If we say a country is democratic, then the country should have all the powers to decide what to do with its resources. The initiative does not address the productive economy of Ghana.
I recall when I was growing up as a kid, and I recall the days of people like Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, Nyerere, and others. Those were a breed of African leaders who thought that Africa could catch up, at least catch up with the West. These were nationalist leaders. These were not revolutionary leaders. And these were leaders who taught and advocated, the production of our own needs and so on. They had giant ideas about hydropower projects, about large-scale agriculture, scientific agriculture, and so on. Research into nuclear, facility for drying food, for minimizing post-harvest losses, and so on. Today, the trend is different. Today, our countries have virtually become districts of the metropolis. Today, economic policy is not decided in Accra. Economic policy is decided in Washington and London.
I am struck by the phenomenon of total denudation of production. Our economies have been genuinely emasculated of production. I recall times when we had factories in Ghana producing shoes, producing textiles, producing matches. They had outboard motors and coal stores for their fishing. We've come to the point now where we've now allowed all of that productive capacity to atrophy and fall away. And now we are becoming more and more dependent upon import. In fact, we are more backward in the area of production than we were in 1965. We've gone backwards. Now, I do not see any economy anywhere, historically or currently, which has progressed by dismantling its productive capacity.
My name is Nana Serwah.
Nana Serwah?
Yes.
Nana, can you explain to me why all these shoes?
These shoes are fine. Ghana is not fine. Ghana materials are not fine, but exported ones are expensive things. So this price is high, but Ghana is low. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So most shoes and things that you're selling here are imported?
Yes.
And you're saying that the materials here in Ghana are not so good?
No. The materials are not good. Ghana materials are not good.
Is that because you don't have the sort of industry, the factories, the...
Yes, mostly they don't have that factory printing here.
Okay. Okay, so you have to import them?
Yes.
Okay. So do people prefer to buy imported goods?
Yes.
Rather than the Ghanaian goods?
Yes.
And what's your ambition? What would you really like to do?
Me, if I want to travel, but I don't have money to travel, so I'm staying here.
I was involved in the debates and campaigns in the late 1970s, believe it or not, where we were seeking to bring in a pro-poor perspective. Because at the time it was all growth. GDP growth, and nothing else. Now we've come full circle, where there's sort of poverty alleviation in itself as a yardstick of measuring everything. Now that's also a mistake. Because we knew then and we know now that poverty cannot be alleviated sustainably unless there's economic growth. The error of the old ideas was to over-focus on growth. Now we're going the other way, which we are looking at poverty as it was a thing unto itself. Poverty is a consequence, an important factor, but a consequence. If you don't solve the problem of growth and development, you will not solve the poverty problem.
Are there any funded, do people get any debt relief funds here at all or anything?
For the women alone, a small loan scheme. Normally the interest account.
Only for women?
Only for women.
Why only for women?
Almost say men no munchia.
So the men are not credit worthy.
Hello.
So here we have a stove, cooking pots. We have some of the Vaselines that we have done. We have the raw Vaseline here, which we use to do the Vaseline. This is the raw Vaseline. We also have a liquid paraffin in this container. We also have some scents that we use to put in the Vaseline to make it nice. And this are some of the Vaselines that we have done. This is without any scents, without any color. This is with color and scents. We have the labels. So we do, first I started with them. After we started, they got to learn everything, then I handed over to them. They take it here on credit and commission base. They go sell, then they bring the money to us. But I will say that this is not enough. Just look at this pot and this pot. For about 10 people starting it. But because we also do not have much funding, that was why we started like this.
I mean, with the poverty reduction strategy, what are we doing? Advancing small credits to women to do batik, to do soap production and so on. That would not take them out of poverty. They cannot earn enough to be able to access tertiary education for their children. They cannot earn enough to look after themselves when they fall sick and so on. So it's a whole facade. I think that there's a major problem with the concept of poverty reduction. The concept of poverty reduction assumes that a certain level of poverty is tolerable.
It's okay, yeah.
And therefore, if you can reduce it to that level, then people are going to be comfortable with poverty. I think that that's a major problem with the concept. I don't think that any level of poverty is acceptable. And indeed, we were told by the president that they finally decided to opt for the HIPC initiative because some guy from the World Bank came up with the figures which were convincing. And the figures were confirmed by an expert from Britain. And I'm wondering, what happened to our own experts? What happened to all the people we have in the economics and political science department in our universities and so on? They didn't matter in their decision to opt for the HIPC initiative.
So some expert from Britain?
Some experts
Do you know
from
who he
Britain.
was?
Well, I understand that Claire Short played a role in getting the Ghana government, to opt for the HIPC initiative.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for the people themselves to decide for themselves what they want their future to be and how they want things done. That is the key.
I would want to see rapid infrastructural and infrastructural development. That is what I think will go to, enhance development. Ghanaians, especially Ghanaians in rural communities, are living in abject poverty. And government and donor organizations are trying to help reduce poverty. But a sort of strategy that they have put in place are rather meager, in quote. And if you travel to the advanced countries, I have the privilege to travel to Germany, to Sweden, and to Denmark, and also to the US. And you can see the level of development that is taking place. A community like this should have all that it should have for a decent living.
What we need now is growth. Let us send them our proposal and define the kind of development that we want. And I have to say that in terms of development, we want all spheres of development which is quality. The quality development that comprises of manufacturing industries, a full-scale industrialization to the latter, where the sky is not even the limit.
If you want to give me a debt relief and then squeeze me whilst you are supporting your farmers and refusing me to support my farmers. So the money you relieve, you take it, the money through my eyes.